The headlines have shifted, and this time they're not just about King Harris lying in a hospital bed. The spotlight has turned to his father, T.I., who is no longer silent, no longer cryptic, no longer hiding behind folders and vague captions. He's speaking loud and clear, and his words are cutting through the noise like a blade. T.I. has officially broken his silence on his son's brain surgery scandal, and his message couldn't be more direct. The doctors who were responsible must face the harshest punishment the system can give. No more protecting reputations, no more covering tracks, no more silence for T.I. This has become a personal war for justice. From the moment King was wheeled into surgery, whispers of negligence had been circulating. But the family's tight grip on information meant the truth remained hidden. That all came crashing down when federal agents intervened, exposing a mess that could no longer be swept under the rug. And now, in a dramatic turn, T.I. has shifted from silence to outrage. In a recent outburst, he slammed the medical team, demanding accountability in the strongest terms. To him, this isn't just malpractice, it's criminal. They played with my boy's life, he declared, his voice shaking with anger. And for that, there has to be consequences. Real ones, not a slap on the wrist. His demand, nothing short of severe punishment. Prison time, not just fines. Fans and critics alike have taken notice. Social media is ablaze. Clips of T.I.'s furious statements going viral within minutes. Some see it as a grieving father's justified response, a man who has seen too much to stay quiet. Others argue that his fury might be clouding facts, pushing him toward a path that could create more chaos than clarity. But one thing is undeniable: his words carry weight. When a man who built his reputation on authenticity, resilience, and a refusal to bow to authority speaks with this kind of passion, people listen, and right now, people are listening closely. This explosion didn't come out of nowhere. For weeks, T.I. had been visibly crumbling under the pressure. The internet mocked him for fumbling with folders and avoiding questions. Every public appearance was met with chants and shouts from fans demanding answers. His silence, once interpreted as strength, had turned into an unbearable burden. And now that the dam has broken, his anger feels like years of suppressed emotion spilling out. This is no longer just about King's surgery gone wrong. It's about a father trying to reclaim power in a situation where he felt powerless. In many ways, T.I.'s rage is his way of fighting back against a system that he believes betrayed his family. But his fury raises new questions. What does strict punishment really mean? Is T.I. calling for justice in the courtroom, or vengeance in the court of public opinion? Legal experts warn that negligence cases rarely result in severe criminal charges. Doctors may lose licenses, face lawsuits, or even suspension. But prison time is rare unless malice or fraud is involved. Yet here is T.I., one of hip-hop's most influential voices, demanding exactly that. His words could pressure authorities, influence juries, and shift public perception in ways no lawyer or prosecutor ever could. This isn't just a personal fight. It's a cultural moment, one where celebrity power collides with the legal system. Meanwhile, the Harris family is split on how to move forward. Sources close to the family suggest Tiny is urging caution, worried that T.I.'s fire might backfire. She's posting cryptic messages about patience, healing, and faith. But fans are reading between the lines, wondering if she's quietly disagreeing with her husband's public crusade. On the other hand, Big Nana, the family matriarch, has reportedly backed T.I.'s anger, saying privately that the family should have been demanding justice from day one instead of trying to protect the brand. Her potential to speak publicly looms larger than ever, and if she does, her voice will only amplify T.I.'s fury. The public, however, is less divided. Most fans online are rallying behind T.I. I's demand for strict punishment, flooding timelines with hashtags like ***, #justice for King ***, and ***, #hold them accountable ***. They're reposting his statements, editing them into clips with ominous music, turning his outrage into a rallying cry. To many, this isn't just about King Harris. It's about every young life put at risk by negligence, every family forced into silence by powerful institutions, and every time justice was delayed or denied. I's words have lit a fire, and it's spreading faster than anyone expected, but not everyone agrees. Critics argue that I is exploiting the tragedy, turning his son's suffering into a public spectacle to maintain relevance. Some question the timing of his statements, suggesting he stayed silent until public pressure made it impossible to avoid. Others point out the legal dangers of his words. Could his public attacks on the doctors impact the case, or worse, jeopardize the investigation? The more he talks, the more scrutiny the family faces, and the more room there is for backlash. Still in I's eyes, silence is no longer an option. The stage is set. On one side, a father demanding strict punishment for the doctors who handled his son's surgery. On the other, a medical establishment that will fight to defend its reputation, armed with lawyers and experts ready to challenge every accusation. In between, the FBI investigation, still expanding, still uncovering new layers of negligence and secrecy. And watching it all, millions of fans who have turned this scandal into a movement, refusing to let it die down. I's fury has officially changed the narrative. The story is no longer just about what went wrong in that operating room. It's about what happens when a powerful voice refuses to let negligence slide. The next steps, whether in courtrooms, press conferences, or social media feeds, will determine not just the fate of the doctors, but the future of the Harris legacy. And right now, I is making it clear, justice will not be optional. The fallout from I's explosive statements is spreading like wildfire. What started as a father's fury has now turned into a national conversation, pulling in voices from every corner of the entertainment industry, the medical field, and even political circles. The demand for strict punishment is no longer just I's battle cry. It has become a rallying point for fans, activists, and even a few surprising allies who see this case as much bigger than the Harris family alone. In less than 48 hours after his outburst, hashtags linked to King Harris and medical negligence had already trended across multiple platforms, and petitions calling for harsher penalties against negligent doctors racked up thousands of signatures. Once mocked for staying quiet, has now positioned himself as the loudest voice in the room, and that voice is echoing everywhere. But the response hasn't been all support. The medical community is pushing back hard, accusing I of weaponizing grief to inflame public outrage. Prominent doctors and hospital spokespeople have stepped forward, warning that demonizing surgeons without due process could create a culture of fear, where doctors hesitate to take on difficult procedures out of fear of criminal prosecution. Negligence should be addressed, one medical expert said in an interview, but turning every complication into a crime will only hurt patients in the long run. Still, those words don't resonate with a public that sees a teenage boy fighting for his life after a surgery that went horribly wrong. For fans, the debate isn't about protecting doctors, it's about protecting King. Meanwhile, legal analysts are dissecting I's words like evidence in a trial. Can his demand for strict punishment actually influence the FBI case? Some believe it already has. Prosecutors, under the glare of massive public attention, may feel pressured to dig deeper, file harsher charges, or push for penalties that normally wouldn't be considered. Others warn that I's comments could be used against him if the defense argues that his celebrity status is tainting the jury pool. Either way, the legal landscape has changed dramatically, and at the center of it all is a father's rage turned into a public movement. Within the Harris household, tensions are reportedly boiling over. Tiny is said to be growing increasingly frustrated with T. I's scorch, Tirth approach. Insiders claim she wants to prioritize King's recovery and keep family matters private, but T. I's decision to go public has made that impossible. Every time she posts about faith or healing, the comments are flooded with demands for her to back her husband's words. Big Nana, however, remains firmly on T. I's side, privately telling relatives that the doctors need to feel the weight of the law. If these rumors are true, then the Harris family itself is divided, torn between fighting for justice and shielding what's left of their privacy. The industry's reaction adds another layer of intrigue. Fellow artists, producers, and influencers are starting to weigh in, with many posting solidarity messages under the #justice for King banner. Some are offering prayers, others are calling for reform in the healthcare system, and a few are even volunteering to join I's fight for accountability, but not everyone is rushing to support. A handful of critics within the industry argue that I is making things worse, turning a personal tragedy into a public spectacle. One anonymous insider put it bluntly, "There's a difference between fighting for justice and creating chaos. Right now, I's walking a thin line." And while all of this drama unfolds in the spotlight, King Harris remains at the center, silent in a hospital bed, his future uncertain. Every news statement, every viral clip, every trending hashtag, all of it is happening while the person at the heart of the storm fights for his life away from the cameras. This disconnect has only fueled emotions further, with fans insisting that negligence can't be brushed aside as just a mistake. When the cost is so high, to them, King is more than a celebrity's son. He's proof that even fame and fortune can't protect you from the failures of a broken system. As pressure mounts, the FBI investigation is reportedly widening. New names are being mentioned, new files pulled, and whispers suggest that the arrested doctors may not be the only ones facing consequences. Could hospital administrators, board members, or even higher-ups be dragged into the case? If so, I's words might have been the spark that turned a simple malpractice scandal into a full-blown criminal probe. The possibility has fans on edge, waiting for the next update, the next headline, the next twist in a story that keeps spiraling into darker territory. What comes next could determine everything. If authorities push forward with harsher charges, I may be hailed as the man who forced the system to act. If they don't, his anger could grow even louder, putting him on a collision course with institutions much bigger than any single hospital. Either way, the fight has only just begun, and one thing is certain, I has no intention of backing down. For him, this is no longer just about King's surgery gone wrong. It's about proving that negligence has consequences, no matter how powerful the people responsible may be. The lines are drawn. On one side, a father fueled by fury and millions of fans demanding justice. On the other, a medical establishment digging in its heels, defending its reputation, and warning against what they call dangerous rhetoric. Between them stands the FBI, caught in the crossfire of outrage, law, and public perception. This is bigger than a surgery. This is bigger than the Harris family. It's a battle over accountability in a world where mistakes can no longer be hidden, and where silence is no longer an option. As the storm intensifies, the narrative is no longer confined to whispers in hospital hallways or cryptic Instagram posts. It has exploded into a national scandal with real consequences looming. I's demand for strict punishment has created a ripple effect that nobody can ignore. Federal investigators are now treating this case as more than just negligence. Reports suggest they are actively examining whether there was criminal intent, cover-ups, or deeper corruption within the hospital itself. Suddenly, what started as a tragedy is morphing into a full-scale legal showdown, and T.I.'s words may very well be the spark that turned the spotlight into a floodlight. The FBI involvement has fans and critics buzzing. Imagine the image: federal agents walking through the same hospital corridors where King Harris lies fighting for his life, combing through files, interrogating staff, and pulling surveillance footage. Every new leak adds fuel to the fire. Rumors that doctors ignored warning signs, skipped essential tests, or even falsified documents to shield themselves from blame. If these whispers prove true, then T.I.'s fury isn't just justified, it's prophetic. He's not just calling for accountability, he's exposing a system that failed his family in the worst possible way. But here's where it gets even more complicated. Lawyers for the accused doctors are fighting back, accusing T.I. of slander, defamation, and using his celebrity platform to poison public opinion. They argue that complications are a known risk in any surgery, and that the tragedy of King's condition should not automatically be equated with malpractice, let alone criminal negligence. Their defense is already framing T.I. as a grieving father blinded by rage, someone who could be undermining his own credibility with every fiery outburst, and in the court of law, perception matters as much as evidence. Meanwhile, the Harris brand is teetering on a knife's edge. For years, T.I. cultivated an image as a man of integrity, a rapper turned family man who preached wisdom and authenticity. Now, critics are resurfacing every past controversy, arrests, scandals, business feud, arguing that this outburst is just another example of recklessness. Tiny's attempts to keep the focus on faith and recovery have only added fuel to the fire, with fans accusing her of deflecting while T.I. fights the real fight. And then there's Big Nana, whose fiery personality is once again threatening to blow the lid off the family's carefully controlled narrative. Word on the street is she's fed up with the secrecy and may go public with her version of events, unfiltered and unapologetic. Outside of the Harris circle, the public is more divided than ever. Supporters are doubling down on hashtags like **justice for King and **punish negligence demanding systemic reform. They see T.I.'s voice as a necessary megaphone, a rallying cry for families who don't have his reach or power. But critics argue that this is nothing more than a spectacle, with one viral tweet summing it up. This ain't justice, it's reality TV. The battle lines are clear, and every new post, leak, or statement tips the scales one way or another. The cultural impact is undeniable. This story is no longer just about King Harris or even the Harris family. It's about how celebrity power collides with the medical system, how grief collides with justice, and how silence collides with truth. T.I.'s demand for strict punishment has tapped into something bigger, a growing distrust of institutions, a hunger for accountability, and a frustration with how easily tragedies are swept under the rug when powerful names are involved. The fact that this case is trending globally shows just how much people resonate with the idea that negligence must carry weight, no matter who is responsible. But the road ahead is messy. If prosecutors decide to press harsher charges, doctors could face not just loss of licenses but real prison time, a precedent that could shake the medical industry to its core. If they don't, T.I.'s outrage will likely intensify, fueling even more division and distrust. Either way, the outcome will redefine more than just the Harris family's legacy. It could shift how negligence is punished across the board. And yet, through all the chaos, one haunting question lingers: what about King? The boy at the center of this storm, once full of bravado and defiance, now silent in a hospital bed. Every debate, every hashtag, every angry statement circles around him, but rarely centers on him. His recovery, or lack thereof, will ultimately decide how history remembers this saga. If he pulls through, T.I.'s crusade may be seen as the fire that forced change. If he doesn't, the Harris family may never escape the shadow of this tragedy, no matter how many statements or lawsuits follow. For now, the world watches, waiting for the next development. Will the FBI bring the hammer down? Will T.I.'s fight turn into a landmark case that changes everything? Or will the noise fade, leaving behind only unanswered questions and a broken family? Whatever the answer, one truth remains: T.I.'s demand for strict punishment has shattered the silence, and there's no going back. The doctors, the hospital, the system, they're all under the microscope. And this time, the world is paying attention.